And then I found the Master of Science in Entrepreneurship, which is exactly an MBA for your own business. I thought that was brilliant. I took all my vacation at Microsoft. After 10 years, they call it the golden handcuffs. You get paid a lot and you work with very smart people on very, very innovative products. Just had to make a decision. I need to quit Microsoft or just stop going to school. And so I left Microsoft. And then AI happened. And so now you can just paste the lead code problem into ChatGPT and get an answer instantaneously. There's tools what you can install on your computer that are undetectable, and then you can just provide the perfect code. We're seeing this reset, and I think that DevMatch has an opportunity for software engineering. I said, this is a phenomenal idea. I immediately started coding. I coded for a year. We hired people. My wife was working with me. We spent a lot of time and energy. By the end of that year, we ended up shutting down Wego. Nobody knew. Nobody cared. Because I spent all my time and energy just going and building rather than stopping and saying, is this something that people are going to buy? We need someone that has an opinion about stuff. If you really don't think that this is the right approach, say something. It's easier to say yes to everything. If it doesn't work out, it's not their fault. I want to share the responsibility.
Thank you for taking the time out of your busy student lives to come to our event. So today's speaker is Alan Gonzalez. He's a software engineer. He's a founder. He's an operator. He's the founder and CTO of DevMatch, which is essentially a platform that reimagines kind of how software engineers do their hiring in the technical hiring field, as well as kind of testing them by doing real coding tasks on the spot, which he saw this problem and he kind of tapped into. He also is from a UW background. He got his Master's of Science in Entrepreneurship from UW Foster, which is really impressive. And from there, DevMatch took place, as well as has earned recognition in the Puget Sound Business Journal 40 under 40 list for 2025. So that's really impressive. Beyond DevMatch, he's also co-founded Propio, which is a startup-focused automation to streamline routine tasks, and is also really deeply involved in academic community and was also my professor last quarter, which was really, really fun. So thank you so much for taking the time out today. We're thrilled to have you here. But yeah, could you just, I think the first question, as always, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey into the startup field?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I did my MBA here at UW Bethel, and I joined some of the clubs. Even though I was doing my business education, I joined the ACM club, and so I'm always kind of very inspired by people kind of self-organizing and advancing their causes. So great job just kind of creating the club and just kind of advocating for entrepreneurs everywhere. So my journey started, I was very, very young, and I had two uncles. One of them had his own business, and the other one was a programmer. And when I was 8 years old, I was my uncle kind of taught me how to code so that I could just pass the time, something to do. And my life completely changed after I learned how to code. Back then, I was coding on a GW Basic on a computer that had no hard drive. It was like completely different universe in computing when I look at what's happening today. And from there, I knew that I was passionate about programming, coding, building things. I remember that my mind was blown when I learned what a for loop was when I was very, very young. I was like, not only are people kind of going from 1 to 10, you are using that knowledge to do something inside, to do some other operation. I thought that was the most insanely, spectacularly intelligent thing. And so I just said, there's a lot of stuff here. But at the same time, I had my other uncle who had his own business, and I saw the business side, like hiring, solving someone's problem. And I think as I was growing up, I kind of merged those two to the point where I said, I think my journey is going to be something related to merging engineering and business. And so that's kind of what I did. First, I had an undergrad in software engineering back in Mexico, and then I started my own startup there, doing software for a few businesses. And then I started a nonprofit called Omega Up, which what we were trying to do is elevate the level of software engineers in Latin America. That's still going strong. And then the three of us were actually hired to come work at Microsoft. So that's how I ended up here in Seattle, Washington, and in Redmond. And after maybe 10 years at Microsoft, I realized that I was not at the trajectory that I wanted. So that's when I decided to enroll in the Master of Science in it. Actually, no, I did my MBA first. But then the MBA taught me that was too kind of a little bit corporate for what I wanted. I wanted to focus on startups. And the MBA opened my eyes, and more than anything, it opened my eyes to this is what I want to do, but this exactly was not exactly what I wanted, what I needed. And then I found the Master of Science in Entrepreneurship, which is exactly an MBA for your own business, which I thought that was brilliant. And so I just enrolled, and that was a part-time, not a full-time program. So I took all my vacation at Microsoft, and after 10 years, they call it the golden handcuffs, because it's so, you get paid a lot, and you work with very smart people on very, very innovative products sometimes. And it's just very comfortable, and it's still challenging and intellectually stimulating. So it's hard to leave, as you can imagine. So I enrolled in that program, and at the end of when my vacation ran out, I just had to make a decision. I need to quit Microsoft or just stop going to school. And so I left Microsoft to go into the program full time, which was amazing. It completely changed everything for me. The entrepreneurial ecosystem in the region was phenomenal. I started with one idea, didn't go anywhere. I started with another idea with someone, a co-founder. We had some challenges, and I decided to not pursue that anymore. And then I started DevMatch. And so that was maybe 2022. And then here I am. And then after some time, my daughter was born, so I needed to make a little bit more income. So I took a job as the CTO of Propio. And then the CEO made me a co-founder. So right now I'm having those two. And then I started teaching at UWB, which is a dream.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I know you briefly kind of touched into how you started your first startup back home.
Yes.
What was that journey like? Why did I know you were inspired by your uncles, but I think as students, this most scariest thing is just making that first leap or first risk of like, should I even go into that field? Is there, any opportunities? Will I succeed? What was kind of your thinking for your first startup?
Well, I wasn't thinking, which I think helped. I didn't really consider the future all that much, which I think made things a lot easier. I wasn't thinking, this is going to be like sit down and do a career plan or a life plan. I just said, I enjoy working on this, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. That was kind of, I was very, very intense. I would work very, very long hours, and I just enjoyed it, and I continued to do it. But there was no kind of grand plan, I think. I was just following something that I enjoyed doing. But it all started because I was hired by someone to run another startup, be essentially the CTO of another startup. And I was just in love with the process of creating a product. It was just unimaginable that we can ideate something, spent 3-4 weeks in a room, and then just kind of at the end of those 4 weeks, you have a product that people can use, and it was just unbelievably not happy, but like exciting. Exciting. It was very, very exciting. So the product, even though it was an engineering marvel, I thought, never sold a single license. And there I learned that it doesn't matter if you have an amazing piece of engineering, if it's not either solving a real problem, or you cannot sell it, or it's just not at the right price, or there's a million things that can make you not sell anything. And I said, oh, you know what? Engineering isn't everything. Turns out that you need some business concepts are at play here. And so I decided to leave that, and I took a few people from that team, and we started my very first job as CEO. And I made a whole bunch of other mistakes, but that's kind of how it began.
Nice. And I know after that, you went over to Microsoft, spent like a decade there.
Yeah.
I think there's kind of a trend that almost everyone that works at Microsoft, they leave after a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
They get that experience from the company, get the credibility, learn those skills, and want to go further. Maybe because they don't have the creative freedom, or I guess leverage in a company when you're so hyper-focused on one product or one service. You don't have, a lot of options on expanding. Was that kind of similar to what you experienced? Or you just always had that, entrepreneurial drive?
I definitely, I saw that my colleagues were on a different trajectory, and they really fit in the software engineering title. Me, I was just always looking for new ways of doing something. And I was just kind of saying to my boss, hey, if we do this thing, this is going to happen, and this and that. He's like, okay, that's good, but you got to do this, and that's it. And so I was really, really always looking for kind of entrepreneurial things to do, even within Microsoft, which is very much a thing. But I never saw, I was just in a different trajectory than my colleagues. Like my colleagues fit in just perfectly into that puzzle. And I saw myself like, I don't have enough room. And because I don't have enough room, or I don't fit in perfectly, I'm just I feel like I'm falling behind. And so I said, I absolutely adore Microsoft and the challenges that this provides, and the learnings and all that stuff. But I feel that my talent it's somewhere else. It lies again in the mix between business and engineering, and so that's kind of what led me out.
Was that leap kind of scary after having, assumingly a really good salary? And
I knew from the beginning that I wanted to leave.
Yeah.
The moment that I was doing my interviews, I said, I'm going to go, because I was the CEO at my startup, and I said, I'm going to go, if I get this job, I'm going to go to Microsoft for an internship, and then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to learn how they do it, and then I'm going to replicate it back in my company. And then at the last round of interviews, the interviewer said, when do you graduate? Oh, this year. And they're like, oh, no, you're too far along. You cannot apply for an internship. You have to do it full time. I was like, okay. I prepared for this much. It's not like I'm going to say no. So I did the interview, and then I got the offer. And then when I got the offer for full time, I said, okay, I'm just going to do it for 3 years. I'm going to learn how they do it, and I'm going to come back. And then, your life situation changes. Your life changes dramatically. At least it did for me. And so, yeah, it was challenging getting out. So I said I was going to do it for 6 months, then for 3 years, and then I ended up staying 10 years. So it was very, very challenging.
For sure.
Yeah.
I bet. Something that I personally learned from Professor's class last quarter was that I always had this kind of thought that, just because I'm doing business, I can only stick in business. I shouldn't really mess around with CS. He kind of broke that stigma for me. We learned on, being able to leverage all the AI tools that we have these days, kind of learning that you can even be a solo entrepreneur in these days. But AI is kind of everywhere. That's kind of the talk these days. But it's very surface level, or it's only very technical. I feel like what's changing and what's misunderstood is how students are trying to build their career with AI. So I guess my question to you is, when people say AI, what is your kind of thought behind what it will do in the future? Is it good? Is it bad? Or is it both?
Definitely both. I think it's a tool that can be used for positive and negative outcomes, like many other tools. Depends on how we use it. Depends on if it's regulated or not. So I think there's definite potential, and it had already been used for a very long time. AI has been here with us since the 50s, 60s, and so a lot of progress has been made. But now it was like a clear boom. And like any tool, I think that it can be used with positive or negative outcomes. And I don't even know how much we control it. Like, I don't know individually what I can do to make a good use of AI or not, other than being an advocate for the positive outcomes. But it's certainly a tool that is going to change how we operate, at least in my world, which is business and software. It's certainly going to change things.
How do you think it's have you been able to adapt that in your current DevMatch and Propio startups?
Yeah, I have been adapting because I'm a curious person. And then I've been able to adapt because I have seen that it legitimately improves some workflows. And I have been able to adapt because it gets pushed down my throat by other people. And then also the internet is saying all these things about AI. And on one hand, you want to be productive. On the other hand, you don't want to be left behind. So, yeah, I think I've been using it successfully and unsuccessfully in my position, but I think it has been net positive for me in many situations.
So for DevMatch specifically,
yes,
could you tell me a little bit in detail what it does and how it could benefit students as well?
DevMatch, the product?
Yes.
So DevMatch is a platform. So I'm sure, are you guys mostly business or CS or both? 50-50? Who's CS here? Okay, got it. So you're familiar with lead code and the lead code style interview. The nonprofit that I had was very much the lead code world. The platform that we created is used on the National Olympiad of Informatics in Mexico. And it's basically lead code problems competing for competitively. And that's amazing. That's phenomenal. But does that truly reflect your skills as a software engineer? I say no. That does not reflect, because that's not what you do in your day-to-day job. And DevMatch is my proposal that, hey, if you give a sample of the work that they will actually be doing to the candidates, you get a better signal, and the candidate gets a better idea of what they will be doing on the job. And that's kind of the premise. And I heard so many good things about a movement like this, but I just have not yet seen the exponential growth for a tool like this. And then AI happened. And so now you can just paste the lead code problem into ChatGPT and get an answer instantaneously. There's tools what you can install on your computer that are undetectable, and then you can just read the script or provide the perfect code. So that's kind of the only reason why I have not killed DevMatch yet, because we're seeing this reset, and I think that DevMatch has an opportunity in this reset for software engineering. So I purposefully created the DevMatch platform with a few principles in mind. Number one, that it's realistic, that it's short, that you can practice and that it gives you feedback. So it's automatically evaluated. So you as a candidate can come in, solve one of the assessments, and you know if you did it to the extent that the author wanted you to do it, and it's only 60 minutes. That's kind of the default. You can change it, but it's usually just about 60 minutes. So that's how people can use DevMatch. You can also create your own problems. Anybody can create problems. And so people can use it just to practice, get hired, or hire people. Or it was also heavily used in some academic institutions to just software engineering courses.
And I know when it comes to startups, obviously your customer is extremely, extremely important. Your target market audience. How were you able to, when you first started off, how were you able to get in contact with these people? How were you able to market to them and tell them to not maybe use leak code instead? I
just had a lot of memories come to me. When I was the executive director at the nonprofit, our mission was to increase the number of talented software engineers in Latin America, and yet we were this nonprofit over here in Bellevue, Washington. So I never really got to talk to the users, to the people being benefited from our products, and I thought that was a big mistake. And then in the Masters of Science in Entrepreneurship, I learned all this about ideal customer profile, obsessed with the customer, obsessed with the problem. What problem are you solving? And so, but the biggest shift for me was customer development. So how do you figure out that this person, what do they need? You can't just come in and do a pitch of your product. You can't just come in and ask, what do you want? There's like a big art in extracting the truth out of people. If I come in and I just explain DevMatch, maybe you really like lead code, but because I am explaining this to you and you see that I'm passionate, you're gonna say, you're doing great, this is amazing, keep going, this is gonna be a big hit. When in reality, you would never do that. You would never buy it. You would never use it. You wouldn't even tell your friends about this. Okay? So how do you extract the real insights? That is called customer development. And it became my passion at the Masters of Science in Entrepreneurship, which I try to transmit in the class that you were a part of. So for me, that is really, really important. Everything starts with the ideal customer profile. Who is this person? What is their problem? And most importantly, is there a small number of ICPs in the world, or is this a large market? Not only that, maybe it's a large market, but is it shrinking or is it expanding? Are there going to be more people with this problem or less? And it became really, really a really important piece. I realized that sometimes, yes, maybe you start with the ICP and it's like, yes, I'm going to solve this problem for people like Yuri, and they have this problem and this is the solution. But then you get so deep into the features, and then by week 7, you're talking about, should this button be red or blue, or should it go over here or over here? And like, you need to always come back and just kind of not restart, but like keep the ICP always present. So it's become a real important aspect of how I approach business.
Most definitely. I know that I experienced this. Our project last quarter was Sync Up, where it essentially started as students connecting with other students, becoming kind of study buddies, making those groups on campus, so you didn't have to go searching in Gather UW or go searching in Discord and messing with all that, because it gets really overstimulating. But then we had our first interview and everyone's like, I don't really care about this. I just want to meet friends. I want to meet people. Yeah. I don't care about, finding study buddies. I like studying alone. So obviously it was a little annoying 2 weeks in, switching everything over. But it really helped us, and the guest speakers that came as well liked that we pivoted and were able to find the right kind of solution to our problem.
That's a huge deal. Like, if you pivoting, it's almost I don't want to say required part of the journey, But the fact that you pivoted is just like a big signal to me, because it means that you had a hypothesis, you went out there, you tested it, it came back negative, and now what do?
Yeah.
Do you say, no, I pretend I didn't see that and keep going because you're really passionate and you already built part of it? Or do you say, this is not resonating with anyone? What do we do? What are the things that we can change? What are the things that we can keep? And how do we move forward in a way that it gets us closer to product market fit? So I certainly appreciate teams that pivoted a lot.
Yeah, a pain, but it was a good pain. Coming back to the talk of AI, AI I feel like has made building a lot cheaper. But it hasn't really made building simpler. There's still a lot of technical aspects that go behind it. If you guys have heard of Lovable or just even ChatGPT, if you ask it to make an app, it won't be the best version of that, right? Where do you think the real difficulty has shifted for founders from a business aspect and then also a technical aspect as well?
Yeah. So one of my startups was in the commerce. This approach is called backend as a service. So basically what I was trying to say is when you are trying to sell online, you need to go and create a Shopify store or a WordPress with a plugin so that you can sell. And usually you have to just customize some of those tools so that it reflects your brand identity. Or you can start from scratch and all of a sudden you're creating a database with product, price, and all that stuff. There's no in between. You either pay a lot of money to create a store from scratch, or you just have limited customizability with one of those big brands, and plus you have to pay them on a monthly recurring basis. So what I said is like, okay, so what are the pieces that never change? The backend. The backend rarely changes. There's got to be a table somewhere with the product information. There's got to be some login, logging out mechanism. There's got to be, so the backend really doesn't change no matter what you're selling. What is the thing that changes? The front end, the design, the user experience. That is really what makes your store your store. So the backend can be this API as a service, and then you only have to build the front end. So that is called backend as a service. And I said, this is a phenomenal idea, and I think that I should go ahead and start a startup, which I did, and it was called Wego. And me being an engineer, I immediately started coding. I coded for a year, for an entire year. We hired people. My wife was working with me. We spent a lot of time and energy. By the end of that year, we ended up shutting down Wego, and nobody knew. Nobody cared. Because I spent all my time and energy just going and building rather than stopping and saying, is this something that people are going to buy? And if there are people that are going to buy it, do I have access to them? And so now that's much, much easier. It's harder to make that mistake because with AI, I can just say, here's my idea, and then I have some basic idea, some basic prototype of what that looks like, how does it feel, and I can put this in front of someone. Even if they click here and then it doesn't work, that's fine. All I want to know are some basic signals that this is something that is useful to you. So I think in that sense, if you know how to use it, if you have a purpose for AI, then yes, it can be beneficial. So building it's made much more. It shortened the time where I can test something. Now, if you use that same tool, and then you kind of tell yourself, I can build the entire thing by coding or with AI, and all of a sudden you just kind of get stuck and you just want to change this one page, and you're like, change that page to red, and then it changes everything else, and then you have to basically start over, which it did happen in the class. Then it becomes a lot harder to build, because you thought that you had this magic tool that was going to do everything for you, but then you are on the second week and you're still starting from scratch. But now I'm going to do it with Laravel. Now I'm going to do it with Volt. Now I'm going to do it with Windsurf. Now I'm going to do it with some other new tool. So I think that, yes, it is a tool, but like any tool, it can be used to speed you up, or it just kind of waste your time.
Depending on how you leverage it. I think you almost perfectly went into my next question, but obviously there's a lot of talk about vibe coding, like you talked about. Do you think there's kind of an illusion, like you kind of tapped into, there's an illusion of progress when you're using this? I think as students, I use it a lot for when I'm, prepping for a test or even interviews. How do you think as students we can best leverage it in our career, and also after, when we're trying to find jobs or build our own startups? Yeah.
How to use it? There's the challenging thing is that everything's changing so rapidly. There's new use cases every day, and I have a colleague that says that just his recommendation was just in the startups, in a startup, just pick one vertical and just go very, very deeply and try to optimize away all the things that were impossible to optimize without AI. And you're gonna find there's a high chance that you're gonna find some sort of success if you just focus on one thing. Now, how does AI, like, what are the skills that you can use from AI to advance your careers? I mean, there's so many. From writing, from summarizing, and I don't even know the great. I don't have a great answer because I'm struggling with this myself today. Like, I am the CTO and I have a team and I tell them, hey, please, we got to build this, and this, right? And then I take up some aspects of the code. And to be honest, today, I am just kind of vibe coding some of the features. But it's a double-edged sword, because tomorrow when that breaks, inevitably, whether a human makes it or an AI makes it, it's going to break at some point with some failed assumption. Am I going to be able to debug it? Do I have the tools? Am I going to put a lot of burden to my other engineers saying, hey, here's my 42 file pull request, please review it. So I don't have a great answer, but I would only say to not be too pessimistic. I do think that AI is going to change how we work, because there's people that say, I will never touch AI, and I'm not going to try it, and I don't care, and it's just not for me, and just kind of, you guys do what you want. Just don't go into either extreme is I think my opinion.
So almost like just continue adapting with it as it grows, because it's here to stay.
I think so.
Yeah. I think as students, I think we're always trying to adapt with technology always changing, right? There's so much in the world, and with AI, another thing on our plate, we hear AI is going to replace, entry-level jobs, or it just make everyone less productive. They're not learning as much. If you were hiring today, hopefully I get a job after this. If you were hiring today, what signals would you take from a hiree? Like, they have the capabilities and they have the skills, and I would like to hire them today. Yeah.
I think it's really like this has increased the importance of communication. Prior, it was not uncommon that you would hire somebody that was insanely good, and they would just go to their office and not talk to anybody and just kind of do an insanely big feature on their own and just kind of come back, just kind of the lone, quiet engineer, I think nowadays it's much more dynamic, and communication is a bigger part of the role. Can you not only understand what is needed, can you now explain it to the LLM or to your coworkers or to whatever, and just kind of produce something? But somehow now communications is even more important. And the other thing is, I mean, I don't know how related this is to AI, but I am hiring right now for someone. And one of the things that I was just thinking with the team is that we need someone that has an opinion about stuff. It's not like, hey, do this, and they're like, yep, let me go ahead, boom, 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 and then here it is. I personally prefer somebody that is like, hey, do this, and then you just kind of consider it, and if you really don't think that this is the right approach, say something, and not just say, I don't like it. You have to come back and say, you know what? This is one way of doing it, but if you consider this other pieces, then I don't think it's going to work out. Let me propose this. And so, again, communication becomes important. And so there's this back and forth. And people that are not afraid of saying no, and afraid of kind of having their strong opinions, there's, of course, a line between, like, I don't want to do it. I want to do it my way always, all the time. And, like, I want to take what you told me and just kind of, we're going to build it together, as opposed to you tell me what to do. You know, so those are some things that are top of mind right now.
Communication and having an opinion.
Communication and just kind of having a strong or like backbone to be able to say, I don't think this is the right thing to do. You know, it's easier to say yes to everything, because if it doesn't work out, it's not their fault.
Yeah,
it's somebody else. They told me to do it this way. You know, and so. When you have some backbone and say, you know what, this is not what I think we should be doing it this way, and then that becomes also your responsibility, which is exactly what I want. I don't want to be responsible. Like, I want to share the responsibility in some ways.
Yeah, I think I can definitely relate that back to our class as well. I think another factor to that is, like, being able to give feedback but also receive feedback. At the end of the quarter, you could clearly see who was able to, you know, incorporate like certain ideas and who wasn't, just by the end product, even though, you know, not a lot of groups interacted with each other, but it's very visible in the final product. And just, I feel like in the working field as well, being able to give feedback, if anything, think of it as like a selfish kind of point of view, you know, if it's improving you, I would love to get as much feedback as possible. But yeah, I really appreciate it.
And that is a critical insight, not just for you as a person or you as a student, but like businesses. They stop listening, they stop incorporating feedback, and then they just become just kind of building the same product and stop innovating. And that's how you lose the game, usually.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So, to kind of end on a bigger note, looking 3 to 5 years into the future, what's one belief you have that most people have about AI that you think will turn out wrong? That may change over the next couple of years, or even sooner?
What will turn out to be wrong? I don't know. I don't think, like I said, I'm not on either extreme of the AI is going to replace us or like AI is going to pass in 2 years. So I don't, right now, contradicting my previous point, I don't have a strong opinion on AI on 5 years from now. But I do think that it's not necessarily going to go away. And I do think that, as people say, the better you learn how to use AI tools, the more productive you will become. So one space that I don't know how this relates too much to your question, but like how invasive AI comes into our lives is something that I just think about. And so I don't know if you guys know have you seen The Matrix? Okay. Have you seen the Animatrix? Okay, watch it because it's scary. Animatrix is the story of how the Matrix came to be, and it starts with AI, and it starts with a whole bunch of interesting stuff. I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't know if I don't know. That's too far along, but it's just something that I think that I'm very, very curious about, like the integration of these, the computing into hardware. Previously was a screen, and it was just like almost nothing bad can happen. But now maybe it can. So
I love that. I think we should be a little less scared about what will happen in the future, but worry about right now and just continue adapting, right?
Continue adapting because it's AI. Before that was the web. Before that, well, not before that, but at some point it was mobile phones. And so all these things change and change and change all the time. When I started coding, there were no hard drives. Well, my computer didn't have a hard drive. There was no UI, and so it has changed dramatically. So who knows? Maybe in 20 years it'll be something completely different.
As a professor, a founder, an engineer, you were once, in our shoes as a student.
Mm-hmm.
What is one piece of advice you give everyone today for people that are pursuing maybe starting a startup or looking for jobs? What is one piece of advice in general that you would like to give?
Mm-hmm. Well, if I were giving this advice to me, it would be take care of your health. I really didn't do that. I was just kind of way too many long nights. Too much coffee, and just kind of take care of your health. And second, many of the things that I was seeing at school are very useful, but I didn't see them as useful. I later had to come back and read as like, oh, I actually saw this in school, but I never actually paid attention. So now I need to learn it. And being able to identify what are the important things, I think is something that I should pay a lot of attention to. So I had a data structures and algorithms class, and I was just like, yep, I'll just do my homework, get a good grade. I don't care about my grade. I didn't really embrace it, Later I learned, holy smokes, algorithms and data structures are like a huge deal. I could have had a very, very good starting point had I applied myself to this class, but instead I was doing other stuff, So just kind of know that in many cases, well, at least when I went to school, my classes were there for a reason. And so the topics were there for a reason. And there was somebody that really cared about this particular topic, this particular class, and the fact that you're taking it. So just kind of, even if nothing else, give it the benefit of the doubt, and just kind of apply yourself and just give it a chance to see if this is something that might be useful. And so how can you see if this is going to be useful in the future? I would say get a mentor. Just kind of find someone that is going to explain this, how this might apply to you in the future. And so a mentor is a perfect person for that. And those would be my few pieces of advice.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate it. Thank you for everyone for taking your time. We'll open up to questions if anyone has any. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for the conversation. I really appreciate it. And I had a couple questions. You actually specified, and you also have to shoot that because of AI right now, many people are excited to build stuff. There are maybe not even they have the passion to do it, but just they just want to build it to have the idea and say, oh, I got this, I built this. And at the end of at either in the middle or at the end they fail to they don't have the passion anymore because
Yeah.
they realize, oh, I did not do enough research.
Yeah.
Do you think as a startup is it good to, because it's always not easy but easier to have the product and have the product ready, but it's harder to make the product perfect? Do you think is it you should just build a product and just give it to the market and make it perfect along the time, or should done enough research before making the product and then give the final product to the basically to the market?
That's wonderful, and that's kind of my job right now as CTO.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to spend 1 year designing the perfect product so that we can launch it. That is called the waterfall fall model, where you spend 1 year designing, 1 year implementing, or 1 year testing it in the product, and then you say, oh, that's not what the product needed. Let me start over. So I'll see you in 4 years when I have the next version. On the other side, we have kind of the agile methodologies where it's like much faster. Like I just build a small usable piece of the product, and then I give it to you, and then you tell me yes or no, and then I just kind of small iterations with small improvements every single time. I think it's there's somewhere in between where you don't want to spend engineering resources with anything that can be learned without building anything. That would have been my perfect advice maybe 2 years ago, but now the incremental changes are very fast with AI. So maybe you can leverage that to create smaller increments as part of your testing. But I think the one thing remains: product market fit. What are the features that this product is going to have that are going to be used by some market that is going to give you something valuable in return, usually money? So the product market fit, creating a prototype, creating a product is easier, but finding that match of features, and product and market is exactly the same. Exactly the same. It's in AI is gonna help you both in the product and finding the market and defining the market and all that stuff. But that is just kind of, now you can pay more attention to that instead of I'm gonna spend 2-3 weeks building this prototype.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In terms of AI, on that topic, do you think that AI is reaching the ceiling? Not as in like how fast it can go, because we're seeing that it just moves faster and faster, but as in how smart it can be. Because you could argue that, well, there's arguments for AI becoming sentient and also arguments that that's not possible. What's your opinion?
I don't have answers. I have questions, just like you. Like you said, some people are questioning the relationship between language and intelligence. If you can articulate language, does that mean that you are intelligent? Or are they separate? Is intelligence only expressed with language? Or are they the same? The fact that you can eloquently or correctly express language, does that make you intelligent? I do not know. And from what I understand, in our brain, they are not the same region. So I tend to think that this, and of course, I'm speaking exclusively about large language models, because AI is like a huge area, but I am of the opinion right now, kind of uninformed, that LLMs are statistical models that are not gonna take us to what I perceive as intelligence, even though it might seem that way. Probably not. Yeah, unless maybe, I mean, what is intelligent anyways? So for my definition of intelligence, I think is not. I just don't see how a statistical model can just kind of arrive to intelligence as I think of it.
Following up on that previous question about, I guess, large language models appearing intelligent, I was kind of wondering about, is there any defenses against, let's say, some companies just using large language models to really crank out a veneer of like a product or business versus a company that might use large language models sparingly, just as a tool. But I have noticed that online advertisements, there are kind of AI generated
Mm-hmm.
shop storefronts and whatnot. Are there, I guess I would just like to ask, are there any defenses against people using AI unscrupulously
Mm-hmm.
instead of actually having something real, like actual talented engineers,
Yeah.
programmers, artists, analysts?
Yeah, I think that's part of the DNA of each company. I mean, to what extent do we leverage AI? It's kind of one of the many aspects of what makes a company a particular way. So let's say that a company really, really embraces, I don't know, storytelling or marketing, and some other company doesn't. They're like, nah, we have an amazing product, it's gonna sell itself, and as long as we keep doing that, we're gonna make money. Another company is like, no, we wanna embrace storytelling and we wanna do marketing and it's just, I don't know exactly which one is better, which one is worse. It's just part of what defines, it's one of the many aspects that define what decisions a company is making. Not what I will say is that if you use AI for everything without really a lot of regard for whatever it's doing, then my intuition is that that is not a very fruitful or long-term path to success. Because, and I've seen it, somebody sends me a 22-page design document, and it's like, you want me to read this? Like, because they were able to generate a design document with ChatGPT. It was 22 pages, where before some engineer had to let's really think about this. Let me so consider all the aspects of this particular piece of software, and here it is. Maybe it's one page, but it's really thought through. So yeah, somebody used AI to generate a lot of seemingly interesting stuff, but now we all have to read that document and we have to kind of learn. And it turns out that, this sentence in the prompt was wrong, so now everything just kind of doesn't apply, So I personally don't think that just using AI at every single corner of your business is conducive to success necessarily. Yes, you need to consider, how can AI help me make better business decisions, and don't just assume that it always will be the best choice, is I guess what I'm trying to get to. Because if you do, then it might seem like you're generating a lot of output and a lot of decisions and a lot of summarizing meetings and all that stuff, but is that really advancing? Is that really long-term improving your product? I not necessarily sure.
So behind you first.
How was the startup culture like in the Pacific Northwest when you were starting out? Did you at any point feel like, hey, I need to drop everything, move to a much more popular city where the startup culture is way more popular, surround myself with those kind of people to get myself and focus into getting this out?
I think it was phenomenal. I think it is phenomenal. My office is in a place called Startup Hall, full of other startups, software startups. And I think a lot of my perception of the startup ecosystem comes from UW. UW is involved in a lot of entrepreneurial kind of events and clubs and classes and professors, and there's a VC fund that is specifically for UW startups. So I think that was phenomenal, and even just slightly beyond outside UW, there's a lot. I never felt alone. I never felt like, oh, this isn't conducive to me. It was almost always very useful, very I never really thought I need to move out of here. Now, I did go to San Francisco a few times, and I was like, holy smokes, this is like a different world. Because I was just literally walking down the street, and people were like, yeah, my Series A, yeah, my Series B, yeah, my startup this, my startup that. I went to so many events. It was just like mind-blowing. It was amazing. I said, I love this place, but I never felt that I needed to leave this region. So that it was never something that I seriously considered. Other than people go there to fundraise. Maybe you go down there and spend a week, 2 weeks, or something like that. My CEO, he does that all the time. But moving there, because the culture here isn't phenomenal, I personally never experienced that.
Yeah, go ahead and then next.
So you talked about when you were at Microsoft being really drawn to entrepreneurship, and that's sort of why you eventually decided to leave. I was wondering if you still sort of operate like that. You still are always thinking about ideas, even though you have your own 2 startups that you're working in, or and then if you still operate like that, what's a current idea or a few ideas that you've been thinking about recently?
Yeah, no, it's the same. I have many ideas and projects that I want to work on all the time, and it's kind of inconvenient actually, and. That's a good point. So whether I'm at Microsoft or me being a co-founder, that hasn't not gone away. I really always want to just kind of see something differently, do this project, launch this other company, just kind of always moving. What can I do? What change can I make? How can I make a positive contribution to this particular problem that I care about? So that doesn't really change. What does change is my ability to do it. So in my startups, it has been phenomenal to be able to say, okay, AI or like code reviews assisted by AI. Can I try it out? Yeah. You can just do it and implement it and see if it works or not, and then that's it. What about this other side project? Do you want to try it? Yeah. I want to try it. Let me spend 2 nights, just kind of playing with the idea. So there's a lot of freedom, but with all this freedom, it's dangerous because you become less focused. So I would say it's still something that haunts me, and yeah.
Is there something you want to throw out there to see if any of us would make it, maybe?
Oh, I have so many things. Yeah. Have you seen the movie AI? The movie AI? Yeah? You remember the teddy bear?
Yeah.
The teddy bear? I want to create that thing. I actually bought a teddy bear so that I could see if I can just put in some microphone and speakers and just kind of be a friend to my daughter. That was my dream, but now that I'm seeing that people are getting married with AI and just kind of all that stuff, and like, I'm not so sure. But no, I have my list of things that I would want to work on.
As a person who hired people, actually, do you think, is it okay that if someone doesn't know, the person knows how to code but is not perfect in coding, but he's a really good problem solver and he's a really good communicator, do you think, is this person possible to hire this, is it good to hire this person, and along this time, you teach this person to how to code at this time also?
Yeah. So it depends. If you have a very specific problem to solve, I would hire for the technical ability first. If you know that you're creating a computer vision program, I would find somebody that has computer vision expertise first. for that particular problem, in general, if you are kind of more open about what you need or you're looking for a partner, I would look for somebody that has the passion or the willingness and time to work with you and learn and all those things. So I think it depends on what you're looking for specifically. If you already have kind of a really strong idea, a really strong ideation, and you need somebody to execute, then I would look for the technical person. If you're like, I really want to start a startup, I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I want to do a startup, I would hire for somebody that matches your level of passion or energy or the willingness to do it. Not necessarily a specific type of technical skill. I think there's exceptions, but in general, that's kind of what I would do.
Because these days, when you apply to an internship to like a big tech, like a Meta or like Microsoft, Google, I feel like they just looking for you just have to be a really good coder, even your first year or second year of college. And at that point, it doesn't make sense to apply for an internship if you want a really good a coder. And I'm wondering, do you have any a solution for this? Because you cannot be a really good lead coder in a second year for your college.
Yeah.
At that point, if you're a really good lead coder, then what are you doing in college? Do you think what's the solution for this?
DevMatch. DevMatch is my solution to that. Unfortunately, the industry is moving slowly with technical interviews. But I agree with you. I agree that the way that we conduct assessments is not, some people say that it's broken, I don't have a solution other than changing how we assess people and testing for ability to do software engineering tasks as opposed to memorizing and regurgitating lead code questions. So my answer is what I've been trying to do, which is DevMatch. Push people to use DevMatch, but it's really challenging to just kind of move the industry from interviewing in one way into another. I'm, of course, doing what I can, but I am hopeful because of AI. And not because AI is going to help me, but because AI is shifting, it's making people think, is this really a conducive thing for me, how to assess people, or no? So, yeah.
Yeah, in the back.
As an entrepreneur, I think one of the biggest qualities that you might have in you is being creative. I think when you started any of your startups, you had the will to make something new. You wanted to use your ideas to build something. And as you mentioned, with AI being on the rise, you have had to implement this on your journey.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that AI has either inhibited your creativity or has advanced it, and how can we make sure that we still use our brain, but then AI is also supporting us instead of kind of replacing it?
Yeah. I use AI to enhance my creativity, I think. So for instance, you were asking about some of the projects that I have that I'm thinking about. And this is one of the other things that I tell in class is that usually when somebody does not want to share the ideas that they have because of fear of being stolen, that's kind of like a red flag. Because ideas, anybody can have a million ideas, but it's all about the execution. So one of the ideas, so with that said, I'll share one of the ideas that I'm thinking about. It is that today we can train an LLM to regurgitate English, right, or Spanish or language, human language. But the LLM doesn't really understand it doesn't really understand, what is going on. It's just kind of following along with a stream of probabilities. Well, I was thinking, can we do the same with the sounds that animals make? So starting with birds, can I just kind of fragment the song of a bird and train an LLM and then just kind of have it auto-complete the next chirp of what? So the LLM would have a conversation with the bird, but we wouldn't know what it is being said. All that we could potentially know is that it makes sense for the bird to hear back this sound. Anyways, I use AI to go over my idea. Normally, without AI, I would be like, oh yeah, that sounds cool, and it's like a futuristic thing that maybe one day I will tackle. But now I can just have a conversation with ChatGPT saying, hey, I have this idea. Is this logical? Is there any technical challenges? Like, how would I even do this? And then we had a conversation, and he was like, you know what, this is reasonable. And so here's how you might approach a problem like this. And here's the tools and all that stuff. So when I have an idea, I just say, hey, ChatGPT, give me a step-by-step on how I can create my own animations because I want to try this new algorithm or whatever. So I use it in that sense, not necessarily to generate ideas. Some people do use it to generate ideas, like the people at PSL here in Seattle, which I learned from your podcast, by the way. Great job there. I use it to inform my creative process more than coming up with the ideas.
You had a question? Yeah.
So this is more like for the CS. Usually the pathway for a CS student is they make a lot of projects. Maybe they have their own startup that like doesn't really go very far, but like they have it. They put it on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
They make connections with other people in the industry, and they get an internship. That's kind of what the pathway, the road is supposed to look like. Do you think that this is like an effective, or like this is the way to go, like this is how to get a job, especially because it's looking a little bit uncertain for us right
Yeah.
now? Do you think that that's still the way that it's going to be, or do you think it's going to be a lot more flexible?
It's hard for me to experience your situation. When I was going through this journey, it was all like, can you learn 200 lead code problems, and that's it. That's all you need. That's all. Can you just do it? Now, yeah, you need more internships. You need this. You need that. It's really hard for me to say what is the most efficient way of progressing in your career, other than what I always say, which is like getting a mentor, and then just kind of getting out there and just kind of trying new things. I can tell you what I look for as an engineering manager, but I understand that 80% is not like this, but I have met people like me. And some of us just look for skill rather than pedigree or like regurgitated algorithms. So in our interviews, we give you a code base that is very, very similar, actually in some cases exactly the same as what we are working on. And then we say, can you please fix this bug? Can you please develop this feature? And of course, it's not real work. It's just like something that we have seen. And then if you can solve that, then you're in. That's it. That's all that's for the most part, for junior engineers, that's all we care about. Can you do this job? Can you immerse yourself into this code? And unfortunately, for the other 80%, that's not what they are looking for. They want you to remember these algorithms and data structures, which I understand their importance. But for some percentage of us, it's more about the skill. So again, don't do maybe one or the other. I would say, unfortunately, you do have to grind lead code right now. But maybe in your networks, like who is hiring that does not hire in this way? Can they give me a chance? Can they allow me to demonstrate this? There's a lot of databases out there that expose people that don't use lead code questions. And so work your way around your network and just kind of get to those companies. Is that the most efficient way? Really, I don't know, but that's what I would do.
All right, we'll take one last question there.
Does somebody else have a question? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be a negative these days?
I can see how people would say yes. It depends on the hiring manager. For me, for DevMatch, which is DevMatch today is just basically just me. So I make all the decisions. And so I would say that wouldn't be like an immediate red flag, but I would want to assess in some way if you are like, why have you not tried AI? Is it because you are rejecting, or is it that you prefer kind of this organic knowledge, or like, is there an insightful reason why this has been the case? I might be surprised and I'd say, that is interesting. I like that. I want to have that perspective in my team. I know other people that if you say that, they're immediately like, no, because some people are pushing AI so much that if you just utter the words no AI, then it's like no. Again, my opinion, extremes are not useful. So if you have a good reason, then that would be sufficient for me personally, making my own decisions.
I'll ask one question before we wrap it up. It's just kind of been lingering in my mind for a while.
Yeah.
I'm a senior. I graduate in June. I'm applying to jobs as of right now. But what I've learned while meeting a lot of professionals and kind of expanding my social network is there's two kind of ways to get into startups. You go into a big company, you learn all the skills, you kind of expand your LinkedIn, and you meet all these people, and then you kind of jump into it when you have a little bit of a better maybe financial stability.
Yeah.
You have those skills on the back end to kind of support your credibility, which is kind of the route that you took with Microsoft and then going into DevMatch. Would you say it's still a possibility to do that without going into a big tech company and just taking that leap? Is that something you would have done if you hadn't gotten that Microsoft opportunity?
Yeah. Sorry, are you asking what if nowadays do you have to go to one of these big tech companies to get the experience so that you can be part of a startup?
Would you recommend doing that first?
Honestly, if you can, yes, because that'll give you some recognition in your resume. So the bigger name is going to give you more recognition. On the other hand, if you do something amazing at a small company, that's also going to be useful. But generally, the bigger name gives you the most recognition.
Right.
So if you have the opportunity to join a big tech company, I would take that. That's the advice I've given other people when they come. I can join this small startup, which is going to pay me more, or I can join this big company, which is going to pay me less. But and I say, go take the bigger name to begin with. Later, you can experiment a little bit more. But get some financial stability, just kind of experience the corporate world, and then you can come back if you want to.
Right.
The people that some people that I have met that really want to go and start, that's not even a question sometimes. They're like, I don't care. I have this idea and I'm going to go ahead and do it. And that's totally fine. And then there's the majority, because the majority of engineers don't work in big tech, or they don't work at startups. They work at the, Office Depot as a software engineer. The most, when I was doing my heavy research on DevMatch, the most job openings for software engineers was Capital One. More than anybody in the United States, The majority of people don't work in big tech and don't work at the fancy new startup. So they don't scream out loud.
Right.
They don't do my day in the life of a Capital One software engineer. Yeah? You get those from Google. So you
Yeah.
think like, oh my God, Google and Microsoft and OpenAI and all that stuff. No, the majority of people don't do that.
Right.
So just you can go and work a traditional just kind of job, be really, really good at it, and then reassess once you're there.
Right. Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having me.
You wanna come up?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Alan.
Yeah, of
thank
course.
You.
Thank you.
We have some time to like mingle, hang out. We got a lot of pizza. You know, everyone. We gotta have some of that. We got an area for cameras in the back over there. And yeah. Thank you to everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you to Alan for coming and chat with us. Thank you, Agam, for leading such a great conversation.
Yeah.
And it'll be great. Come up, have some food.
Grab some food. Do you want to try
That was great. Really good job. Yeah, amazing. You did so well. You did amazing.
Thank you so much again.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for your questions.
Very nice to meet you.